hello everybody. Happy Comic-Con. Look how excited you all are. This is so nice. I probably don't need to introduce everybody up here, so because of that, I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name is Dustin Nelson. I am a publicity coordinator for Dark Horse Comics, and I have the distinct pleasure of working with all of these fabulous people on stage here. So let's go ahead and start with the intros here. We have got to my left here, the woman currently bringing Korra to life on the page, Miss Irene Coe. And in the middle here, we have the one and only Michael Dante DiMartino. And on the end, we have the woman who brought Korra herself to life on the screen, Miss Janet Varney. And you guys, I am so sorry that we got this thing started a little bit late, so we are going to go ahead and just dive right in with some questions to get acquainted with our panelists here. I want to start out by asking everybody here, if you were a bender, what element would you bend? Go for Irene.
All right. I mean, I think I answered this at Emerald City, but I'm definitely a firebender. Every day of my life, I'm like, I wish I was a waterbender, but I know I'm a firebender.
You know yourself.
And I can't be anything other than an airbender, so.
Can I tell you, I am fangirling so hard on Irene right now. I almost want to change my answer to hers, just to be like, also me. I'm like Irene, but waterbending.
And if anybody cares to complete the elements, I would be an earthbender. And that's only because I took a BuzzFeed quiz that told me so. So here we are.
I just retook, a different, someone sent me a different Harry Potter quiz, and I've always tested Gryffindor. I tested Hufflepuff, guys. You could blow me over with a slight air breeze. I'm like, huh?
I mean, that's the best one, though, right?
Friendship, you guys, friendship.
All right, well, you guys, within the Avatar and Korra universe, I'm also curious to know what character do you relate to the most personally? And Janet, your answer does not have to be Korra. I'm just gonna tell you right now.
Thank you. Korra.
Me.
Okay, I might have known that.
Same though, same.
Fantastic. What about you, Michael?
You know, I'm an Aang guy. I like his adult version too. Someone was just asking me about that. Aang was so serious as an adult, and I feel like, well, there's probably a side we didn't get to see in the flashbacks yet that he's not always so dour. But he had a lot going on. He had a lot to do.
I always like again, I always like to think I'm Asami. I'm like cool. But really, I'm like super extra. And just...
That makes me so happy.
Now, on the flip side, if you were to take a fabulous honeymoon vacation a la Korra and Asami, here in the Legend of Korra's True Wars Volume 1, available next week, or at the Dark Horse booth, if you swing by and visit us, you can get it early. Yeah, if you were to take your own date, one-on-one, to the spirit world with anybody from the Avatar universe, who would you want to go with and why?
Man.
You said no curveballs.
I did say no curveballs, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just picking one of anything from either series is so hard. To single someone out and leave other people out. You know what? All right, come back to me.
I mean, thruples are big right now too, so.
I have no answer.
Oh, it's just me now? I mean, I've always crushed on Asami. So.
Well, there you have it.
I love Zelda and I love her character so much, I'm so afraid, but maybe those two gals should take a vacation together and just become buddies, and she could unbreak her a little bit.
That's a good idea.
I like the way you think, yeah. Did you come up with an answer, Michael?
I know. Let's move on.
All right, and this one's a little bit deeper, but I think that people will be happy to and interested to hear your answers on this one. But I'm curious, from each of your personal perspective, what do you think it is about Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra that has resonated so much with people to the point that we are at a huge panel like this today still?
Yeah, thanks for. I am still amazed that we're still coming to Comic-Con. You guys are still dressing up. Even though the show's been over for a while. Warms my heart to see you guys, many familiar faces every year. You guys keep coming back. It's very cool. I think it's just, when Brian and I set out to tell this story, it was to do something that had a timeless quality to it, that wasn't just, a quick fad show or anything like that. So, just the themes, the characters, it's just like a culmination of all aspects of the show, I think. You can't pinpoint like one reason why it's carried on, but it's just so cool to hear, parents introducing their kids to Avatar now, and new adult fans finding it on Amazon because they've heard of it for years, and they're like, oh, I guess it's free, I bet I should watch it. and then they see it, and they're like, watch it in a week, so it's just cool that people are still discovering it and still with the show. It's pretty cool.
Oh my gosh. That was such a good diplomatic answer. I was just gonna be like, 'cause it's gay. No, but for real, as a queer Asian woman, right, seeing queer Asian seeing Asian characters at all on TV in any capacity. And then just that conclusion, just like yeah. So, I don't know.
Well, I just think it's both shows are perfect, and that is Mike and Brian to the core. Their vision was so specific, and they were so wise to not talk down to the viewer. They want to work with the best people. I exclude myself because I still feel like somehow I won a weird contest. So they were like, I guess I'm gonna let her do it now. But I just think that you guys you made a thing, and you made your thing. You didn't make somebody else's. It's all from the heart, and there's reasons behind everything, and I just think it's outstanding. I wish there were more stuff like this, but at the same time, that's what makes this so special.
Thank you, Jenna. That's actually a great answer because it segues beautifully into what my next question was. And I'm going to start by paying Michael a compliment here, which is that I think that we can all agree that, as Janet said, you created a series that, while skewing very young, wasn't afraid to be smart and not talk down to its viewers. I mean, you tackle so many important, complicated, arguably adult issues, and it seems like you trusted the intelligence of young people to be able to take all of that on, and it shows. And so what I'm curious about is at the beginning, did you have any concerns about that at all? Like, how did that develop?
It's just kind of our natural instinct, me and Brian. I mean,
Yeah.
we worked in sitcom animation, which was, fun and a cool job, but like for our souls, it wasn't as fun. It wasn't the type of story that we connected with, and I love comedy and stuff, but that's not my forte. Really, is writing like sitcom type stuff. So we just both have a natural affinity for these deeper mythological stories, and I guess I just never, because I was a kid reading like adult books growing up, I never kind of questioned whether people could handle it or not, or understand it or not. And I've heard so many stories of how it works on different levels too, where younger kids are watching it on one level and their parents are watching it on a totally different level and a different meaning out of it. And you know, maybe that's also why it's kind of sticking around for a while, is you can revisit it, you know, in different periods of your life and kind of glean different wisdom from it. And
yeah, that's an excellent point, because I mean, I'm a huge fan myself, and so I find that to absolutely be true, that upon a new viewing, you can definitely get new things out of it. And it's kind of interesting how, like, as things change politically and geopolitically and socially in the world, it can kind of frame these things in a new context as well. So that's very, very special. I think what we should do now, because as many of you know, Dark Horse has been publishing continuations of Avatar: The Last Airbender for several years now. And all of you have been so supportive and so excited for us to, and patient, with our continuation of The Legend of Korra, and we're very excited to be bringing that to you very soon here. And so what I'd like to do is go through a few slides so that we can show you some of the beautiful interior art, as you're seeing up here on the screen right now. This is from the very beginning of Legend of Korra Turf Wars, and I think what I'd like to do is just have Irene kind of talk us through some of this a little bit. Yes! What? Did you draw this?
Yes, but I also have to give like major dibs to Vivian who did the colors, and she's amazing.
Yeah.
She is.
I just scribbled some lines and it worked out.
they're good scribbles.
With a lot of help from Brian too.
So I mean, this is the second. I guess this is the second panel, isn't it? So as you can see, this picks up exactly where the show leaves off. Yes. So tell us a little bit what people can expect from Turf Wars as they go in,
Well,
without being spoily.
It starts with their date, which is really nice.
Yeah, I mean, just talking from a writing standpoint, like I figured if, you know, usually between seasons we'd skip ahead like anywhere from a couple weeks to years. But, you know, when we were talking, Brian and I were talking about stories for this, it just made sense that it's like, you can't just skip over the part where they go on vacation and see the beginnings of their relationship and everything. So it just made, we had the starting point very clear that we wanted to pick up like immediately following the end of the finale.
And we need to have a little fun before things get real.
Thank you.
Because trust me, it doesn't take long before the action kicks off.
Yeah, there's a few, I forget how many pages we did, but like 2 or 3 pages of no dialogue, which I just wanted there kind of get the sense of them exploring this world together. And I figured, I was trying to get in their heads, like what would, knowing these 2 characters and knowing what they're into, like what's their idea of a romantic getaway, and it was like going, rock climbing and stuff. Like, it just kind of made sense. And then they get into trouble.
Actually, the scenes where people are like flying around or getting beat up is always the most fun to draw. So when in like wonky positions, it's really hard.
Do you guys know that we read some of this yesterday?
Really?
Yeah. How many of you guys got to be at the panel yesterday at 10? Steve Bloom and Dee Bradley Baker and Dante Bosco and I were all here, and we had a really adorable little girl named Mia who was a guest reader who read Asami and sat next to me. And Dee and Steve did other character voices, but then I also asked them to do all the sound effects. So we got a lot of like Dee and Steve like wind and like growls and little spirit bird and insect sounds.
That's amazing.
I know, there were definitely times like writing the comic where I totally was like, how would Janet say this? Or how would PJ like deliver this?
Shut up, say that again. Say that again.
I was trying,
always
it's
remember
really,
what you said.
I mean, that was the one, obviously big difference is like, all you have is these like limited panels and words on a page and Irene's art and the colors to tell this story that everyone's used to, like the music and sound effects and crazy bending action and stuff. So it was definitely a challenge, like adapting to and hearing, all the actors do their voices and Dee doing all the crazy animal sounds. So I like missed all that stuff in a way.
So
Like,
we're gonna come over and just read it all.
Yeah.
To you in a circle.
so maybe someday we'll stage it.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna be the next Hamilton.
A live reading of Legend of Korra. Up here on the slide, we've got a few other great ATLA and LOK books for you people. We also, our lovely panelists signed some of these, and we're going to be giving the audience a chance to win them during our trivia contest. So hopefully you're all brushed up on your fan trivia, because we are going to test you and make you earn these books.
Oh boy.
But it'll be worth it, so. So first up here we have The Legend of Korra, the poster collection. This is one of my personal favorite book of mine. It's so beautiful. Let's take a look at some interior art here so you can see what you have to hang on your walls. And these are full poster size. Actually, Irene has one right in front of her if you want to hold up so they can see. It's frameable. Yes. And some of them are in landscape. Other items that we'll have available for you to win is the Legend of Korra coloring book. We also have all of these items in the Dark Horse booth, because there are a lot of you here, so. We've got some, this is awesome too, because all of the art that we have in the Legend of Korra coloring book, we do have one for Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's not on the slides though, because it has been out for a little while. Thank you, Janet. Doing her best Vanna White for everybody. Have we all aged out of that reference? Okay, good. That's still.
And she's here today. Vanna, could you come in here? We don't care.
But what I love about these coloring books is that there are 45 pages and every single piece is original. So they were made specifically for the coloring book. It hasn't been seen anywhere else. It's not repurposed from another comic or from the show. So that's really, really special.
Yeah, and if you guys know, you've probably seen his work. Jed Henry did some cool Avatar prints back in the day, and he did all the art for both books, I believe.
And he's an artist for LA.
Yeah, he's really cool.
Here.
And try not to freak out on this next slide, but as we were talking about Legend of Korra, boom, there's going to be more where that came from. Okay, it's fine, you can freak out, it's okay. But coming at you in January, we will have Legend of Korra Tour Forest Part 2, and as you may imagine, if you've been following our publishing trend, there will also be Part 3, but I can't tell you when. So. That is our slide. So I've got a few more questions for you. I know we did a few for the group, but I've also got a couple of individual questions for you guys, and I apologize for any prior curveballs, and hopefully there won't be any here, so. My first question is for Michael. We'll just take it way back to the very beginning. What were a lot of your primary influences and inspirations when you were initially coming up with the concept for the world of Avatar?
Well, I think we've talked about this a lot, but Miyazaki, of course, Spirited Away, and Princess Mononoke were like two of the biggest ones. Brian was watching like a million crazy kung fu movies, and he'd come over to my house and be like, "You gotta watch this kung fu movie." I'm like, I'm not. There were some I really liked, but like mostly I just watched the action scenes, which were cool. But I remember, Shaolin Soccer, I remember we watched, which is like, we love for it, just like its kind of creativity with martial arts and how kind of wild and inventive it all was. And writing-wise, anything from Joseph Campbell's mythology stuff, which I was really into in high school, and as I started my writing career and being interested in mythology. And Furikuri back then for the animation, and Cowboy Bebop for animation, and storytelling, like sequential storytelling, just because there wasn't a lot of like long form, like story arc stuff in Western animation at the time. So those are the main ones that we.
That's a lot of inspirations, but hey, look, it worked. Awesome. And At what point in the process of developing Avatar did you come up with the concept for Korra? How did that evolve out of Aang's story?
I mean, that came after Avatar was all done and we were on break and didn't even know if there was going to be more Avatar universe at all, so we were developing other stuff. And so it wasn't like we had, kind of like with Avatar in the first place, it wasn't like we had all these millions of ideas of this whole other series yet.
Right.
It was more came out of Nickelodeon saying like, hey, we want to do more Avatar, you guys have any ideas? And it doesn't have to be you know, just a continuation of the first series, so we wanted to like jump ahead and explore a totally new Avatar, new point of view, and immediately we were both like, well, it makes sense to have a female Avatar, why not? We had Avatar Kyoshi, Avatar Yamcha, and just to make it feel, you know, turned out to be a great character, but also just give the, and also age up the show a little bit,
Right.
make it a little more older, because our fans had grown up with Aang, and now they were all teenagers, and just made sense.
And now you're all adults, like
Yeah.
So that's great. So it just came out of that prompt from Nickelodeon saying they wanted to do more. It wasn't an idea that was brewing in the back of your head.
Yeah, I mean, the original Avatar, I mean, a lot of people probably know the story, but that kind of came out of the prompts, because Brian met with the, you know, executive at Nickelodeon at the time, and they said, we want to do an action-adventure show with, you know, mythology and legends and lore, and we came up with Avatar. It wasn't an idea we had, like, for years and years, so.
Right.
I guess we weren't good with parameters.
Sometimes a little structure, very
Yeah.
helpful. So
Yeah.
great. Thank you so much, Michael. I've got a couple of questions for you as well, Janet. You brought the character of Korra to life so beautifully, such good emotional depth, and it just felt so authentic as a viewer. And so I just want to know, you know, in what ways did you relate to that character that allowed you to play her so well?
Well, the first, you know, even just a little bit of the script that we were auditioning off of, she clearly was, to me anyway, I mean, I just felt like I immediately identified with the sort of sarcasm and, like, you know, sassiness hiding the idea of feeling incomplete and just not wanting to admit to yourself, like we do, where we, even to ourselves, we're lying a little bit, where we're like, no, I got this, no, I do have this. And it just was so clear to me that that was a defense mechanism, and it's one that I really understand. I'm not proud of that, but that made it even feel possible for me to relate to her and, you know, even have a hope in the world that I could be a good fit for her, because she's not, you know, this superhero who just kind of comes in like a Superman type, where you know, he comes in and is like, look at these fragile people, I'm perfect. Obviously, that's not where his mythology went, but I think part of it was that, you know, people want to see we want to see our heroes, we want to see the humanity in our heroes, and we want to see what tests them and what their weaknesses are too. And for me, emotional weaknesses are very familiar. So yeah, I mean, it was the stuff about her that was the most vulnerable that I really connected with from the beginning. And I know that's the stuff that drove people crazy sometimes, because she made terrible choices, but I was also a teenager who made terrible choices, so I can't fault her for that too much.
I think a lot of us have been there for sure. So is it safe to say that you kind of grew with the character then? Did you kind of find yourself learning from her? And
I did. I still feel that way. I still feel like I learned from her. And I did an interview while I was here at the con where I got really choked up, and then I felt immediately like such a dork. But the way this very cool girl she did a podcast on Legend of Korra, she really knew her stuff, and she was asking me about my relationship to the character even since the show has ended, and I was very honest, and I said there are things that I go through now where if I'm really scared about something, or if I'm like in physical pain, which happens to me frequently now because I had a bicycle accident, so I have like constant problems with my neck, and it can, for those of you who've combated that kind of stuff, even if it's emotional, it just, you can really get dragged down by it and give it a lot of your power, and I feel like again, there's no way I can say this without feeling dumb, but I feel like I have a responsibility to myself because I got to play this amazing character and she went through so much, that I feel responsible when I start to go like, I don't know, I just feel horrible, or like, this isn't gonna get any better, or whatever that moment looks like. I truly have said out loud, there are people who can vouch for this, Korra wouldn't stop here, you know? Like I want to have earned the right to come back and be with you guys and be tougher than sometimes Janet would be. And so I have fully leaned on her, which sounds dumb, but it's the truth.
Sounds amazing.
She's there for you all to do that. She's not mine. We all get to use her in that way.
Yeah, so if you're going through a tough time, just ask yourself, what would Korra do? Hashtag WWKD.
So I mean, to that point, like every story like that I hear, you know, whether it's you or people who come up to me and tell me their personal stories with the show, I'm just like, even though I know this intellectually, like I'm still always amazed at how much like a fictional character can resonate with people and affect their lives in positive ways, and it just like reaffirms like that I'm in the right job, like this does actually like help people and help you know, help bring, seeing the communities come together, the friendships that people form over the show, it's just cool. And the fact that you're like still connected to the character, even though it's been like 2 years since we've done anything, you know, work together and stuff, it's just, it really speaks to like how, again, back to your point that the show just keeps going. It's gonna keep going.
I know, I'm sad that you don't want to just do some trendy fad of the moment, because I wanted to see your fidget spinner show.
Wow, that's in development. I can talk about that.
Aang kind of has a fidget spinner right now.
The original fidget spinner.
Isn't he just a human fidget spinner?
He's the original fidget spinner.
The OG, yes. I've just got one more follow-up for Janet then, which was, what was the most challenging part of doing the show for you?
Dealing with David Faustino.
He's kidding.
David's great.
I love David. No, the cast was amazing. I wish that I could, I wish there was some really cool, like, amazing answer. It wasn't, like, for example, the show I'm on now, I do a lot of on-camera work. That's principally what I do. And I'm on a show now called Stand Against Evil that's on IFC, where I play a sheriff and I battle demons, and I actually do some of the stunts, kind of, that Korra would be able to do without, like, with her eyes closed to sleep. That is very challenging. It is very, very challenging to do that stuff in, like, the Georgia summer wearing a sheriff's uniform. Recording Korra in an air-conditioned plush booth at Nickelodeon, surrounded by wonderful, sweet people, and, you know, just having a great time, and having Andrea Romano guide you all the way through is such a pleasure. It feels like you're being given a gift every time you do it. So the most challenging thing for me, I think, was just overcoming my own anxiety about how you guys would respond, because I loved The Last Airbender and I know how much you guys loved it, and I just wanted to do a service to the show, because I knew the show was going to be great, but I didn't want to be a bad avatar. a bad avatar.
I think it's safe to say that you are a great avatar or a gravatar. I'm good for a pun anytime you make it. Awesome. Irene, let's ask you some questions now. So
I could just listen to Janet talk all day.
I like too. I think we all could. I mean, we did for a while. So Irene, you are kind of carrying the torch on kind of extending this world, building out things in this world that we have never seen before. So what I want to know, and I think what a lot of fans are going to want to know, is what kind of goals did you have in mind for expanding such an established world, and how did you bring your own flavor to the page?
Sure. Well, principally, I was not asked to draw the book in the show style, which I feel like opened me up not just drawing wise, but also like emotionally, right? Being able to sort of inject more of my stuff in there. Obviously I was following Mike's script, so it wasn't like I was changing things, but I feel like you guys gave me a lot of room to play around with the character acting and like the interactions and the emotions, the tenderness, which is really great. Like you didn't give me too much direction on that stuff, so I kind of went ham on that, but.
No, you handled that stuff really well. Yeah, and since it was my, these are my first like comic scripts, just trying to, find that balance of like, you want to be clear about what the panel's supposed to show, but not like dictate everything. I mean, it was kind of like the show where it's like you write the script, but the storyboard artist would bring so much life to the characters or have a different idea of how to stage a scene. So just kind of like, just doing what we did on the show, where it's like there's a clear goal and a clear story we want to tell, but definitely have you add to it for sure.
I was on a diversity panel yesterday, and we were talking about politically charged work, and I don't think my work is specifically politically charged, but my existence kind of feels political, right? Like I can't change the way I look or like my orientation or whatever, and particularly now it's a thing. So I feel like just being a bisexual Asian woman working on this feels like an act of like defiance against everything bad. Specifically that makes a difference, but that I'm working on it, I hope, is a thing for people to look at and be like, awesome, like things are changing.
Yeah. Irene, I'm so sorry, I just wanted to ask.
Go for it, this is your time, you can do whatever you want, Janet.
Did you feel nervous at all? What kind of, were you thinking about the reader too and going like, well this is what I know I would want to see, I hope I'm right,
so nervous. I think mostly I just wanted to impress Mike and Brian.
I understand that.
Yeah, in the beginning it was mostly like, oh, Mike and Brian, and then later it was like, oh, right, like, I used to be part of the fandom, so I know that the fandom is, all, like, alive and kicking. And then, like, there was a point where I was like, oh, like, I can't please everyone, like, what do I do? And I had a really good pep talk with our editor, Joan, and Mike and Brian. They were like, just can't make everyone happy, but, like, you can do your best and be proud of that. So that's
I don't know, when I started flipping through it the first time, I think I actually thought, this will make everyone happy. I literally was like, no one will have a problem with any of this. This is perfection.
Definitely, I mean, I felt the same pressure. It's like you're continuing the story. We left it off in a good spot, and and to like dive back in and start telling more of the story and really get into their relationship. And I definitely felt the pressure too. And I don't have, Brian was consulting on the comic, but like, I was writing scripts. I didn't have the writers we usually have, or all the awesome directors and artists and everything. So it's definitely a bit of a change.
Yeah.
You guys are so awesome. We have about 10 minutes left, so I think now is going to be a great time to do our little trivia contest. Give you guys an opportunity to win some signed Legend of Korra and Avatar merch here. So,